Welcome to the first cadCAD community call. You can all see my screen here, right?
Sure can.
Awesome. Okay, so yeah, I wanted to kick this off with a quick welcome and some introductions to of everybody here that's joining this community call. And then we'll go through some of the forming governance processes. We are establishing the cadCAD as a standalone open source community. Some of the work we've done in GitHub to establish community governance processes that, of course, are open to everyone who's interested in participating. Then we'll follow with a 25-minute presentation by Matt Barlin, who is the Block.Science lead systems engineer and one of the most experienced cadCAD modelers. He'll be running through some of the best practices he's learned working on a bunch of different cadCAD models. And we'll finish with some discussion and Q&A, and then a few callouts for contributions in the cadCAD community at the end of the call. We'll try to keep this tight to an hour because actually right after this call, Griff Green from the Common Stack will be presenting an intro to cadCAD and walking through some of the cadCAD tutorials in the DAO Hack Month Discord. So I'll provide a link to that towards the end of the call. So we've got a double header, everything cadCAD on Friday. Pretty exciting day. Great. So I'll give a quick intro to myself, and maybe we can just give like a 30-minute or 30-second popcorn round. Your name, some projects you're working on, if you've worked on any cadCAD models, and what would you like to see modeled. So I'll start. I'm Jeff. I'm working with the Common Stack and Block.Science as well, and of course contributing in the cadCAD community. I've worked on a couple of models like the CIC model with grassroots economics, community currency in Kenya using Bondi curves, and also the conviction voting model with Aragon and OneHive. Also have done a bit of modeling for the Common Stack Cyber Physical Commons. So a lot of really exciting initiatives there. And I will pass it to Griff.
Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, my name is Griff Green. I work with the Common Stack and Giveth and a few other projects. And I can't say I've done modeling, but definitely look at the augmented bonding curve and conviction voting models that Sargam has built, and support Andrew, who's also on this call, in rewriting them so they're really easy to read and follow. And I would love to see all the crazy DeFi stuff that's already on the Ethereum network modeled. So that would be a dream. And I'll pass it to Andrew.
Hi, folks. I'm Andrew. I work with Griff on the Common Stack. And I'm basically...
Andrew's muted. Can we unmute him?
I think he's good. I can hear him.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I work with Griff on the Common Stack, and I'm rewriting this cadCAD model, so I would definitely love to hear any cadCAD best practices, because it's quite a hairy one. Yep, that's it. I'll pass it to... Shebnem.
Hey, this is Shebnem, and finally great to have this cadCAD community call. I've been working on Electro-Seed Fund and modeling for it, and I must say we made a lot of headways and got stuck, so this is one goal. And I would also like to see TE Commons being modeled, and I'm documenting basically my on-ramp onto cadCAD modeling to make it also accessible for others like me. And Jessica.
Hi, Shebnem. Thank you. I am less on the technical side and more on the narratives, education, and storytelling side. So I'm just here to listen in and always open to expanding my brain. So I look forward to hearing from all of you. And I'll pass it to... Can't see names. The Green Giant, Jolly Green Giant.
Hey everyone, Jolly Green Giant's Chris Fraser. I work with the Block.Science team. I'm a very amateur cadCAD user. I built a simple water and power model. I'm working on building out something that's more functional as a business model using cadCAD for a venture that we're exploring and doing called Block.Science Labs. But yeah, I'm here to participate and join in with the community. I'll pass it to Danilo.
Hi everyone, my name is Danilo, and I work together with the Block.Science team. And I started to use cadCAD at the beginning of this year because I'm very interested in doing complex simulations about things that have complicated dynamics, like, for example, economics, but also other things that have some, like, for example, one thing that I was doing last weeks was to sort of do, let's say, a simulator for backpacking, but taking into account the weather, the wind direction that changes along the day. And one key interest that I have is to make modeling more accessible, but also in a way that you can integrate also with all the other tools that we have in, let's say, in this age of the Internet of Things. So I look forward to know all of you, and I'll pass to Z.
I'm Zargum. I like to make things out of math, and I've been doing lots of sort of complex dynamical system stuff for a long time. I've worked on more models than I can count, and I'm just really excited to see anyone modeling anything that they are excited about, because I think this type of methodology and this type of work, to Danilo's point, really needs to be like expanded beyond the scope of very specific institutions that have the techniques, the tools, the money, the resources, the education, whatever, to teach these kinds of methods. And so I'm thrilled to have an open source project where people can build things, learn things, improve things, fork things, and make them better. So yeah, that's why I'm here. And I will pass it to Barata.
Hey, what's up? I like DAOs. DAOs, being socioeconomic systems, are complex and can benefit from modeling. Ergo, I think cadCAD is pretty cool for that. Because if we can build better systems that help align incentives for people, we might eventually have a better world. So, woohoo! I'm not quite sure who's gone next, so I will defer to someone else to pick someone else. Yeah.
I think we've got a few. James, are you there? Or Sean or Tyler, if anyone is. Oh, there we go.
Checking my audio. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Yeah?
Yep, can hear you.
Yeah. Yep. Hello. James Himburus. I'm really into DAOs and modeling. I work with Trojan DAO, and I've done some working on a decentralized fundraising model using Moloch DAO and a token. I'm really interested in anything that has to do with how groups from the ground up can come together and can create their own new monetary systems that are suiting their needs. And I'm really interested in using cadCAD for new kind of really creative types of token models, like demiurge, like, all sorts of things. Pandora's box.
I can go next. My name's Tyler. I got pulled into the modeling space through Z. It's not something I'm super familiar with, but I'll probably be hanging around a lot of this beginner new type stuff as I'm trying to onboard myself as well. I haven't done any modeling, but part of the work that I'm doing with the cadCAD guys is a lot of the onboarding stuff, trying to make that easier since I'm one that needs it as well. Yeah.
I can jump in. So can you guys hear me? Awesome. This is Sean Anderson here, data scientist with Longtail Financial. So we build financial forecasting systems, and we've done some tokenomics consulting as well for specifically the Ubuntu Foundation. And we're really excited to work cadCAD into our workflow. We've had our eyes on it for a long time. We've gone through the tutorials. And we're really excited for that moving forward. I think this kind of complex systems modeling can touch every industry that exists. So I'm really excited for that. Right now, we're working on a project analyzing the hemp, both hemp and bamboo as large-scale economical decarbonization industries. So I think cadCAD could play a really key role on like a macro level for modeling like sustainable industries, but from a very profit-driven perspective as well. So I'm really excited for that. Oh, and I'll pass it over to my homie, Division, if he's in here, David.
Yeah, sure. It's David. I work with Sean. We both come from Longtail Financial, so I was part of that project with Ubuntu. And while Sean has all these grand goals of using it to benefit the world, I really just like financial modeling and financial engineering. So I guess I'm less utopian than he is, but I'm excited to put it to use for that. And I don't know who's remaining in here that hasn't gone. So if you haven't, just feel free to cut me off and jump in now.
Jump in. My name is Beatrice. I am an artist. I have no idea about mathematics or cadCAD. That's completely over my head. But I am the creator of a platform, and that is one of the projects that that proved the use case for blockchain in art a few years ago. And I've been working on a paper to create a token economy for this community, and presented the paper last month. And I was pretty much concentrated on the social aspect of a system. Then I had no idea what to do next. So somebody mentioned cadCAD, and I've looked at some videos. I found Jeff. I pinged Jeff, and we had a really nice conversation. He sort of like made things much more clear to me. Then he said there is like this course, and so I met Sebnep last weekend. We had this amazing 4-day intensive course on value flow systems. Value flows. And I came along with 2 friends who are also artists, and one of them is a mathematician, and she's the one that is going to be modeling, and she's here too. So I pass it to Sparrow.
Yeah, hi everyone. Like Bea said, only found out about cadCAD through the token engineering course last weekend. So thank you, Sebnem, for that. It looks really cool and exciting, and I'm a software engineer as well as an artist. So I'm looking forward to getting a chance to play around with it and modeling Bea's invisible economy. And I thought I saw Lenara. Did she join? Lenara, are you here?
I'm here.
Cool. You can go next then.
Yeah, so I'm also part of the data working group, let's call it, and also did the course last weekend, the system value flows. So yeah, so it's kind of just open also for me this world of cadCAD modeling, and I'm pretty new and really excited to learn more about it and continue with this project with Bea and Sparrow and other people that are also part of the group. And whoever wants to come next can just go ahead.
think we have a few people left. Cyprian,
Basileus,
did you
one
want
cannot
to?
hear you. I think Basileus is
Yeah.
trying to.
Oh,
Hey guys.
you're.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm Basileos. I'm working at the intersection between renewable energies and distributed ledger technologies. I have my own cyber physical project what would like to realize, and currently working with Sepnem together. It's a token engineering book. My expectation is are to get to know how to start with cadCAD and find out how useful it is for my project. Thank you.
All right. So hey guys, I'm Cyprian. I'm here because of all the good people that are here too, and I'm just always enjoying the conversation. So, but no, more seriously, I'm just I'm using cadCAD to try to build out like a super complex system. So now I'm just trying to find out if there is a very simple way to adapt all those techniques. And as I'm working also on the visualization part of it, yeah, super interested with everything that comes up.
Awesome. Is there anyone else who is here who would like to speak up that we've missed so far? Santiago, did you get a chance to say hello? Maybe you're just listening in for this call. Okay, unless there's anyone else who has not had a chance to introduce themselves, I can move on into the next section. So I just wanted to, now that the community's all introduced ourselves to each other, I wanted to introduce you to the cadCAD GitHub and also the kind of paper DAO governance processes that are coming together in the cadCAD space. So you can see that cadCAD now has its own GitHub repo independent of Block.Science. So this is another step in cadCAD becoming a standalone open source community. One of the repos in this organization is a governance repo, and this contains a series of Markdown docs which are still a little bit in progress because we want some community input and feedback into this process. My computer is super slow because I'm running this Discord and the recording all at the same time. So let's see if this loads. Great. So a lot of this is still work in progress. Actually, we've been putting some work into a separate branch here, and we are really encouraging working groups to come in and help us draft these community governance processes. So the idea is there will be sort of a three-tiered governance structure. So there's the maintainers at the center, there's the contributors one layer outside of that, and there's the community on the outside. These contributors can form into different working groups. So there's a few working groups that are ongoing at the moment, and we're looking to define, the mission, the vision, the values, and being able to, define the roles and responsibilities that are involved at each of these layers of governance in the cadCAD community. So you can find more about this in the Discord channel. There are 3 working groups, and contributors are welcome to join one or more working group and contribute as the need arises. And you can see, yeah, go ahead, Z.
Jeff, do you mind if I comment a bit? So a couple things about
Please.
this that I want people to understand is that the first one is that this is essentially as best we could, a sort of snapshot of what was already going on. So it's not an attempt to sort of design a complicated or fancy governance process. Actually, we just said, what are people doing? What are they contributing voluntarily? And we start to try to organize the sort of documentation of the reality. And then by putting it into Markdown form, we make it essentially a kind of constitution. And actually credit needs to be passed to Nathan Schneider, because the idea is like loosely based on community rule, which provides the ability to define governance structures for communities. in a database on their platform. It's very like Markdown structure based, and the main difference that we are following is that by using a governance repo and Markdown, we actually make it possible to have like amendments and actually kind of governance over governance as a sort of default feature. I don't expect everyone to necessarily go and write stuff, and I don't expect it to become fast changing or overly complicated, but it makes it transparent and inclusive. At the same time, it's not like completely random and things are being jerked around, because we can still have pull requests and discussions. And if we are going to make a change, it should happen slowly after sort of a first draft. So I don't expect this to come together immediately. In the short term, we're using just this sort of community rule that says, hey, we've got 3 groups roughly based on what people are already doing. They're largely autonomous in the sense that you don't need to like get permission to do stuff as long as it's kind of clearly aligned with the shared goals. And we have the Discord, we have the GitHub org allows us to have conversations in threads and generally sort of focus on doing what needs to get done and try to keep the governance overhead down. But I still think that the infrastructure around governance, like the GitHub repo and the some periodic discussions about what could be done better or differently, can go a long way to make the system adaptive and sustainable, and feels and genuinely is like owned by the people who are contributing and using. And the maintainer role is really just about stewarding the rough consensus of the group and making sure to, like, in particular with the core engine, ensure code quality. So the primary, the sort of lead engineer on the project, Joshua, still is sort of taking the sort of first, and final review on pushes to the primary engine. But even that is something that is, long-term subject to revision over time, because we want to keep him from being burdened as the project grows. So I hope that makes sense. Part of the community call is to sort of kick off this process. And maybe the last point along these lines is that there's also some like sort of branding and updating of the materials, website, et cetera, that I'm hoping that we can sort of hand over into the community. Again, since it was born of and spun out of a project that was funded by Block.Science. Sorry, mini rant.
No, that's great. So the call to action here is, now that we are, this cadCAD community, you are welcome to join the Discord channel. You're welcome to join these working groups, and there will be some tasks that are being, laid up and brainstormed by these working groups, including, contributing to the governance processes, and all of the other tasks that are going on in the cadCAD world. Are there any questions or comments on that process, or any thoughts? Someone dropped in a great quote from Eleanor Ostrom. I'm guessing that was Griff. He's been into the Ostrom quotes lately.
he found a new source. We're going to be dished out Eleanor Ostrom quotes the next couple of days. Looking forward. I have one question about the additional, is there a working group or something where existing educational materials are already, contributed to, or how would we go about that? But many things may be coming in the coming months.
I would say post about it in the education and outreach working group, because I believe you're already a part of that. So I would be happy to discuss those processes and procedures with you for sure.
I think if anything,
so it goes first through the channels, and then
there's a lot of people working on education, yourself included, and how people come together and create bounties to write demos, reference. This is no plan working on with Aragon and OneHive to really make an educational and demonstrative model of conviction voting will actually serve as an anchor for future bounties on education material, because we can say, this is a strong educational explanatory model. Yeah, so anyway, I should stop. We've already used half of our time, but I suspect there will be an ongoing breakout on governance as we sort of kind of collect the community, and then also ongoing asynchronous or synchronous at your own discretion. These sort of working groups just represent the bundles of labor that we already see happening.
Awesome. So we can move into the next section of the call. And Matt, if I can ask you to keep it to 20 minutes, so we have 10 minutes at the end for some discussion and next steps. If you're, I know Matt is a wealth of knowledge in everything cadCAD, so hopefully we can have him on the community call again in the future. But yeah, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? Good. Can anyone hear me?
Yep, all good.
Okay, good. And let's see, are you hopefully seeing my screen? This is all new.
We can see your screen, and it should be being picked up by the recording, so all good.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I skipped the introduction since Jeff already introduced me slightly before, but I'll give a quick intro. Yeah, I'm the lead systems engineer at Block.Science. I've experience with building physical models as well as building essentially physics-based parametric design tools for predicting, like for designing ships and really and then onto simulating transportation systems. So where I wanted to go with this will be that really a couple themes that I wanted to cover with kind of this relatively new group, but it also sounds like new to cadCAD, as well as sounds like a pretty hardcore blockchain group as well, that I wanted to really have a couple themes about essentially data type generality and what we envision as from the beginning as our experiment types, and as I kind of walk through some fairly kind of a simple model in the beginning and a simple model at the end, and then I'll hopefully have time to kind of focus on the best practices for that last model, so that you can kind of see how we might go about really architecting the types of models. So I'll start.
Can I just double check? Does anyone else see Matt's screen? I see it's still loading. Okay, can you maybe try sharing again?
Sure. I will stop sharing and try again. Sure. So far you didn't miss anything. So that's good. And then
okay, there we go.
Yeah,
I got it. I got it now, and it was also loading for me, but it looks good now.
All right, yeah, I just redid it. Yeah, let me know too, because I've gotten kicked out a couple times. So if I get, well, I guess you won't be able to tell me if I get kicked out, but give it a shot.
Is there a possibility to share the docs somehow? For me, it's still loading, but only if it's quick. I can take it in later.
Yeah, the documents I'm showing. Or
for me, it's still loading, but don't worry. I'll pick it up somehow later. Go ahead.
All right. So I wanted to start with a kind of a simple / fun example about baseball and basically being able to simulate a hitting streak. And in this kind of example, it was really essentially determined based on prior performance. So essentially that you have a batting average, and then what would you do as if that batting average continued over the course of your career. And so the data type here, so I wanted to start simple. So it's just, okay, what if just getting hits and outs were Boolean data types? And then the experiment that I wanted to run was essentially, could we repeat this? So really what we would consider a high Monte Carlo type simulation, where we're just repeating the same experiment, and in this case, a fairly simple experiment, but many times, and then being able to not only see that data and see what it and see the results, but also that can also not only say prove something that you've already worked up, but then also see, obviously in our work, in design work, we might catch unexpected results. And in this case, it was just really proving a solution, or, that I could take, this is really a purely statistical problem. And so therefore, we can kind of, make predictions about through statistics, how likely this would happen. And then by doing this simulation, so essentially what I did was, simulated 1,000 careers of 4 different types of hitters that have, or 5 different types of hitters, both with batting averages ranging from 200 to 400. And then essentially, whether they get a hit at each at bat, it goes to a Boolean, and then that becomes a game, and again, and then that goes to a Boolean. And then we get to see not only do it, so we can do things like, okay, check if we said they were going to have a 200, how close. This isn't a close, but really a test of the randomness of the simulation, about how close that simulation mirrors what an expected real life scenario. And then by simulating over 1,000 careers, we can see how often we would expect to break so it was about breaking the record hitting streak of 56 games. And so we can see here that this is for each line is actually a career, and with their longest, which each essentially player's longest hitting streak, and we can see essentially a 400 player, how often the 53 times they would break the record. And what's interesting essentially about the results, that even a 350 hitter would break it just once in over 1,000 careers. And so, some of the things that come out is well, we have had 400 hitters and we've had 350 hitters. And, there's obviously a lot more variation and stochasticity that can happen while in both in a real world, this is assumed for at-bats every game, and, that doesn't always happen. And then, of course, we could, where we go with cadCAD is, okay, well, now because of the way we build it, that we can build in behavioral dynamics, and we can say, okay, well, when you get up higher, do you get more nervous? What happens to you? And so that can, build in those layers as well. So that was just kind of a quick run through. I probably went too long on that. Okay. So what I'll jump to next is that, the next kind of sets of experience we can look at is that as we build financial systems, again, the generality is that we can build essentially finite financial systems, where we essentially can hold really every actor within this system, and we can hold essentially all of their necessary information. So that so whether that's as simple as what their holdings are and what they've done with their purchases and when they've sold back. So every interaction they've had, and that can really be held in a data frame within the simulation, within a cadCAD simulation, and as well, then they can really update their preferences and see what they would do. And so this just is another example of a financial instrument where there's essentially a continuous funding curve, and how people would buy and sell in relation to essentially a ceiling buy price, as well as kind of a floor sell price, and how they interact within essentially 2 different markets, a primary and a secondary market. But again, we can kind of build what happens to different token types, and how investors will do depending on when they got in and got out. and and then we can kind of look at some kind of market sentiments and how those vary over time, etc. So that's some of the things that we can do. And then we can also, even within that, we can do a parameter test where we can kind of vary, like, essentially how much of that funding goes to a project and how much stays within the bonding curve. And then we can kind of look at some variation of results by doing a parameter sweep that way. How am I doing so far? Everybody pretty good?
Still pretty good. You've got about 8 minutes left. This is
All right.
awesome so far, by the way.
I'm trying to lightning round. Okay, so next up, so you're going to see this crazy big picture. I'm going to touch on a smaller version of this. So this is kind of what we call our cadCAD spec. So like I said, but here, this is a model where essentially much of what's happening is actually all wrapped up in a network X object. So we're really kind of maintaining what's happening to the simulation within the nodes and edges of a network X object. And so in the simulation, we just can kind of see what's happening with our network, and from there, again, once you kind of get that set up, you can, the world's your oyster. You can propagate signals, you can pay people, you can choose to interact with people or cut them off. You can, bring all of that information up to a central treasury if that's where you want to go. So something like this, where you can have your entire network really doing all of the activity, and then removed layers for essentially interaction from your set of your wallet addresses and your nodes that are or your controlling entities that are controlling the nodes and making decisions about whether to act within this network. So again, that's something we can do, and this is just kind of showing like what would happen if you started to get cheated, and and how that would affect how you got paid, and then you would from there choose to not work with that person anymore, and etc. And then kind of building off of that, when we started, we have something that we kind of call A/B test or pairwise test, and that can be as simple as if it was 2 values, then okay, we might consider that just a 2-value parameter sweep. But really, what you can do with our pairwise test is you can have, if you wanted to have 2 completely different models, you could essentially simulate them side by side. So if there was essentially, say, like a stochastic process that, or some external process, and you want to see how 2 completely different models respond to say the same external process, that would be something you could do. In this case, we were actually looking at 2 different essentially algorithms on how to reward nodes, and so we can kind of say, okay, like, well, here's what this function does versus this other function, and then we can not only do the A/B test between those 2, but then we can also do sets of Monte Carlo runs against those as well. And then, so I want to wrap up, or like to use until Jeff cuts me off. I want to go to here, which kind of goes to essentially, this is a model where everything was actually built within a class, customized class object, and the goal here was like where we started. So we get some of our best practices that we have, that we kind of started with a finite state machine, where essentially the class kind of encompasses everything around this box. And within this class, we can actually hold essentially different states of adoption. And that can be driven by an external marketing signal or some other, any signal, honestly, right? Like a Discord channel signal. And then there's also a way to essentially have, like, once you're using using whatever this is, then you could actually have another experience signal kind of come in and affect how the users go. And then, you know, the idea about this model would be that the output of that model would at any stage would essentially would give you levels of participation and how many of each group are actually participating. So from there, kind of like make a state transition table, have our differential equations, and then what we do is to build our model best is we'll make this kind of cadCAD specification diagram where we have our states, and those can feed if we're choosing to have an external process that will kind of update an external state, and then that state along with any other states that are that are essentially part of the state space that are necessarily affecting this user behavior function. You know, that typically what'll happen is that user behavior function will make a decision, and then the output of that decision will be updated into a state update function here, which will in turn update the state. So, you know, that separation of kind of behavior decision from your kind of mechanistic layer, and then how those interact and really how those take in information to decide to act are, you know, kind of pretty important fundamentals of cadCAD. And in this case, this finite state machine we see is very similar to a lot of curves we're seeing these days about kind of SEIR type infection model. So we can kind of run over.
Sorry, Maddie, we've got another 2 minutes. And if there's anyone who's not muted, if you wouldn't mind muting, there's a bit of a cross sound. Yeah, sorry, Maddie, go ahead.
You're good. You're good, because I think I nailed it. Yeah, so I can maybe even slow down a touch and talk about a graph. Yeah, so we can look at essentially in this case, I ran parameter sweeps for different thresholds amounts as opposed to doing a Monte Carlo run where we're kind of redoing the simulation over and over again. And what we see here, I can actually look at this now. We have like kind of an unaware pool of adopters, and you know, so they make up, you know, the entire target pool at the beginning of the simulation, and then as people find out about it, they become aware, and so then, you know, as the blue goes down, the yellow goes up, and then those aware become at some point will become adopted, so they'll try this out. If they don't like it, they will be churned, so they will stop using. And then those adopted people will continue to use it, and then some of them will become loyal customers. So in this case, this was like the highest threshold, so we can see that they had the hardest time, like to kind of they were your toughest customers, essentially. And so you can see that the churn greatly beats out the loyal, and then the other extreme is the other end with the lowest threshold, and we kind of see a little bit more, like, you know, some slightly more interesting dynamics. But you know, at the end of the day, the loyal greatly outnumber the churned. And oh yeah, and I ran it for essentially several other sets of thresholds, and hopefully, you know, this is what we get if we're talking about like COVID and where we get that that we get the good outcome as opposed to the bad outcome. I think that probably hit it, so I will stop there. Okay.
Really awesome stuff. So glad to see these models one after another, and yeah, great to see some insight into the projects you've been working on. I included a quick a note on the cadCAD notes as well, Maddie, if you wouldn't mind dropping in some links. If you have open repos for any of those models, I'm sure it would be great great interest to some of the people here. Okay, can everybody see my screen? I can't, but let me see if I'm just looking at the wrong thing here. Okay, great. Yeah, so we've got about 8 minutes left before we close this call and move over to Griff's intro to cadCAD in the other Discord channel. A couple of ending points, and I'd love to open up the floor for any questions or discussion. So as we've chatted about through this call, this is an emerging community of modelers and makers. cadCAD is more than just a tool for crypto, as some of Matt's examples showed. This can be super useful for modeling pretty much anything. And of course, the design space in this area is very wide. So understanding the complexities of system design and data science, this is definitely a tool that we're opening up to more disciplines, and the token engineering community has really stepped up in support of this tool, which is great to see. So we would love everyone here to join the cadCAD Discord. Feel free to participate in one or more of the working groups if that matches your interests and skill sets. Contribute some thoughts to the cadCAD governance on GitHub, and we also have the community rule, which will be evolving. We do have a call out to ask for someone to help with facilitating a community call in other time zones. So if there's anyone in Europe or Australia, I know James Zaki said tentatively he would be interested, but if there's anyone else, please feel free to post in the Discord as well, because we'd like to make sure that people in different time zones around the world are able to join in and participate. And of course, if you want to support cadCAD education and development, we have a Gitcoin grant going, which funds education bounties. Basically, we'll be putting up, a model with some work that needs to be done and some acceptance criteria for what constitutes a completed model. And that's used to basically onboard new people into using cadCAD and getting familiar with the tool. And if you prefer to donate in fiat, we have an open collective open as well for funding further development of cadCAD as a tool. Is there any questions or discussions or questions for Matt as well? I know we can continue this in the Discord afterwards, but if there's anything anyone wants to chat about in the last 5 minutes, I can open up the floor.
I want to say thanks a lot. I didn't catch the visuals, Barlin, but actually I will hopefully through the video, and it was super helpful to see the bandwidth of what you've been doing and how you go about. I sense some differences that, for example, the token engineering community will need an onboarding. But hopefully, yeah, I look forward how we're gonna synchronize and get people from different application domains onto using cadCAD. Really look forward.
I dropped some posts in the community, the outreach-community channel about several of the models that Barlin and other members of the team have worked on, are in sort of proto demo status, because a lot of the times we work on the technical sides of them, and people interested in them should get in touch with us through this channel and ideally collaborate to add the extra text, explanation, etc., and build them into really valuable onboarding and education tools.
So there will be links to these models later, and by the way, it would be really nice if there was an article of the best practices thing, so I could refer to it time and time again instead of having to go to a video and scrub around.
Makes sense.
Great idea. I'm just making a note in the cadCAD notes for that as well.
I mean, thanks everyone for coming to this meeting. I mean, honestly, I didn't know how many people would come, and it's incredible to see so many people here. So thank you.
Yeah, very awesome to see. And I hope this can serve as a useful community for spreading knowledge and education, and onboarding more people into using this tool and spreading the best practices that are learned by a lot of the projects that are already working on models. And hopefully we can create this library of models so that when Electroseed Fund, for example, needs a bonding curve or an adoption model, something that's already been produced, by the Common Stack, or Barlin's been working on this marketing adoption model, can just be taken off the shelf, tweaked and customized, and then used for all these different purposes that our community would find so valuable. Awesome, everybody. Well, I look forward to the next one, and you can keep an eye out for posts in the Discord and the cadCAD forum for the next date and time for these community calls.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was great.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
everybody.
Thank you very much.
See you next time.